You're sitting at your desk on a Tuesday afternoon, nothing special about it. You've got a half-eaten lunch next to your keyboard, a Slack message you've been ignoring for 40 minutes, and the kind of low-grade exhaustion that just feels like you're normal now. And then your phone buzzes, you glance down, it's your brokerage app. You tap it open, barely even curious, expecting maybe a few dollars up or a few dollars down the way it always is. But the number you see stops you completely. In a single trading day, your portfolio just gained more than your last paycheck. Not your monthly take-home, your bi-weekly paycheck. More than 2 weeks of clocking in, sitting through meetings, answering emails, more than 2 weeks of your actual living, breathing life traded for money. And your investments just did that in one afternoon without you doing a single thing. And something happens to your brain in that moment that nobody really talks about. It's not excitement exactly, it's more like a reorientation. Like someone just tilted the entire room 2 degrees and now everything looks slightly different than it did before. You look up at your manager walking across the office floor and you see something you've never quite seen before. You think about your commute this morning, 45 minutes each way, and it feels different now. You look at the clock on the wall, and you realize you are thinking about time in a way you have never thought about it in your life. That moment right there is what today's video is about. Because that quiet, almost strange shift in perception is not just a feeling. It is a complete psychological rewiring that happens when your investments start matching your salary. And once you understand what it does to your brain, to your choices, to your relationship with work and money and time, you will never look at saving and investing the same way again. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now, because on this channel, we talk about the psychology of money in ways that actually change how you think and not just what you do. I am David Marshall, and I have been obsessed with the way money shapes human behavior for over a decade. Not the spreadsheets, not the ticker symbols, the psychology. The way financial pressure warps your decisions and the way financial freedom unwarps them. That is what we do here, so stay with me because this one is going to change something in the way you see your own life. Let's start with the trap most people are living inside of right now without even realizing it. And I call it the linear trap. Here's how it works. You have a salary, you show up, you work, you get paid. You work more hours or get a promotion, you get paid a little more. It is a perfectly straight line. 1 unit of your energy in, 1 unit of money out. And at first that seems totally fair. That seems like just how life works. But here is what nobody tells you when you sign your first offer letter. A salary is a ceiling. It is a ceiling because it is physically, biologically, mathematically impossible to scale. There are only so many hours in a day, there are only so many years of peak energy in a human life, and the moment you stop trading that energy, the money stops completely. The line goes flat, you get sick, the line goes flat. You want to take a month off, the line goes flat. You want to spend time with your kids when they are young and actually present instead of exhausted, the line goes flat. This is the linear trap. You are not building anything. You are running on a treadmill that only stays on as long as you keep running, and deep down you know it. That low-grade anxiety you feel on Sunday nights, that is the sound of someone who knows they are on a treadmill. Now let me give you a different image. I want you to picture planting a tree in your backyard, a small one. You dig the hole, you put it in the ground, you water it for a while. It is almost invisible for the first couple of years. You might even wonder if it is doing anything at all, but you keep going. And then one summer morning, maybe 3 years in, you walk outside with your coffee and you notice something. There is shade, not a lot at first, but it is there. And the next summer there is more. And 5 years and you are sitting under that tree on a hot July afternoon and you are not doing anything to produce that shade. The tree is doing it. The tree figured it out. You just had to plant it and be patient enough not to dig it back up. That is exactly what happens when you invest consistently over time. Your portfolio is the tree, and the day your investment returns start matching your paycheck, that is the day the tree has grown tall enough that its shade covers your entire yard. You are sitting in comfort that you no longer have to actively produce, and that changes everything. Now here is the part that surprises people the most, because I think most people assume that once your investments match your income, you just quit your job and sit on a beach somewhere. And sure, some people do that, but most people do not. And here is why. Something more interesting happens. I call it the fear upgrade. And this is the piece that is actually about your psychology and not your net worth. Right now, if you're like most Americans, you go to work because you have to. Not because you want to, not because it fulfills you, but because the alternative is very real and very scary. Missed rent, credit card debt spiraling, your kids not having what they need. That fear is not background noise, it is the engine running the whole machine. And it is exhausting, not just physically but mentally. Because every decision you make at work, every time you bite your tongue with a difficult boss, every time you take a project you hate, every time you stay late when you desperately need to go home, you are not making a professional decision. You are making a survival decision. And that is a fundamentally different thing. That is what I mean when I say work feels like a hostage situation, because it is. You are not there by choice, you are there because you have no alternative. But when your investments start matching your salary, something extraordinary happens to that voice. It does not disappear, but it gets quiet. Suddenly you are not going to work because you have to. You are going because you are choosing to. And that one shift, that single change in the psychological framing of why you show up, transforms your entire experience of work. Your conversations with your boss become conversations instead of negotiations. Your decisions become about what you actually want to build instead of about what you cannot afford to lose. The work becomes yours again. That is the fear upgrade. Fear does not go away, it just loses its grip on the steering wheel. And then there is the fourth piece that nobody in personal finance ever talks about, but I think is actually the most important. It is what happens to the way you spend money. Now, conventional wisdom says the more money you have, the more you spend. And yes, sometimes that is true, but here's what actually happens to people who build real wealth through investing and not through just earning more. They become more intentional, not more extravagant, more intentional. When money is tight, you spend on whatever gets you through the week. You grab the thing that is convenient. You buy the thing that solves the immediate problem because you don't have the bandwidth to think longer than the next 30 days. But when that pressure lifts, when financial fear gets quiet, you actually start to think. You start asking yourself, what do I actually want? Not what do I need to survive, but what do I genuinely value? And that question leads people to spend less on things that don't matter and more on things that do. More on experiences, more on time. More on their health and the people they love. Real wealth doesn't just change what you buy, it changes what you want. And that is a psychological shift so profound that most people who haven't lived through it genuinely don't believe it until they see it in themselves. So let me pull all of this together because I want you to leave this video with something that actually changes how you think today. Matching your salary with your investments is not just a financial milestone. It is a psychological threshold. It is the moment the treadmill becomes optional. It is the moment the hostage situation becomes a conversation. It is the moment the tree you planted years ago starts giving you shade without any more effort from you. It is the moment work becomes a choice and spending becomes intentional, and time starts to feel like it actually belongs to you. People think wealth is about yachts and vacation houses and flying first class. And look, none of that is bad if that is what you genuinely want. But that is not what I hear from people who actually get there. What I hear is something much quieter and much more powerful. They say there's more oxygen in the room. They say decisions feel lighter. They say they wake up on Monday morning and they are not dreading the day, they are just living it. That is what this is really about, not the money itself. The money is just the mechanism. What you're actually buying is your life back, more of your own time, more of your own choices, more of your own air to breathe. And here is the thing, the tree you need to plant is not a mystery. The steps are not hidden behind some paywall. What stops most people is not knowledge. It is the quiet belief that this is something that happens to other people and not to them. So I want you to sit with this question tonight, not how do I make more money, but what am I building, because salary grows linearly, investments compound, and compounding is the closest thing to a financial superpower that exists in the real world. If this video made you see your money even slightly differently than you did 20 minutes ago, hit that subscribe button right now because we are just getting started on this channel. Every single week, David Marshall Finance puts out videos that get into the psychology of money in ways that actually shift how you think and not just what you do. Like this video if it hit different. And drop a comment below telling me where you are on this journey. Are you just planting the tree or are you already sitting in the shade? I read every single one. I will see you in the next video.